For whatever odd reason, I still get pretty nervous when it comes to doing these types of presentations. Today we're going to talk about a lot of different things. So first, I would like to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to allow me to talk to you about life. The name of the program is The World According to Mark and Everything Under the Sun. And it's a discussion on spirituality, accountability, and financial energy. So I'm going to say a lot of stuff that a lot of people are not going to agree to, and that's fine. That's why it's called The World According to Mark. And so, but I'm hoping that I'll say some things that'll help move you to the next level in life, whatever that may be for you. So I'm still learning my equipment, or somebody else's equipment, but that's another story. And so if there's a spotlight on me or whatever, don't even sweat it. Just as long as you can hear me, I'm hoping that the content will get you to wherever it is you're trying to get to in life. The way the format is going to work is that I'm going to talk about a lot of different topics, and I'm going to do each video. Technically, it's one long program, but each video is going to come across as if it's separate because I'm going to stop between each thing in order to pause. So in order for you to really get the full benefit out of this program, make sure you have pen and paper in handy and just take notes and jot down whatever makes sense to you. So just to get us started, this is the part of the program or any program that I've always hated, which is I have to tell you something about me. You know, why should you listen to me? Well, as far as I'm concerned, it's not really about that. It's more so of I'm hoping I can say something that'll help you get to wherever it is you're trying to get to. So it's like, think of me as a friend. You know, it's a saying that's saying those who can't teach, teach. Well, actually, that's not true. Those who can't do, teach is the way it works. And those who really can't do, they consult. I'm a consultant, so that's what I do. And today, this is not about making money in the traditional sense. It's about me helping you. And I'm hoping that you'll learn something today. And hey, share your thoughts with me because I'm a firm believer that two heads are better than one, and that's how we all grow. So in a nutshell, I hope we all learn from this program, and I'm hoping that I can say some things that'll help move you to the next level. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the program. First, my name is Mark again, M-A-R-K-N-A-S-H. I'm from Houston, Texas. I love Houston. I was born and raised here. It's a wonderful city. I'm not going to take you through all of that. I'm going to just start with where we are today. For the most part, I've been in accounting for about 8 years, starting really in 1998. This is 2007, or really the early parts of 2007. And so really for about 8 years, I worked in not-for-profit, for-profit, small public accounting firms, large public accounting firms, not-for-profit public accounting firms, boutique firms is what they call it for those who do SOX. I've done a little IT work, not a lot, but some IT audits, some SOX audits, which is Sarbanes-Oxley, which is from the whole Enron debacle. But I'm going to stop right there, primarily because it's just to say, hey, I have the background to talk to you about what I'm talking to you about. And I've made enough mistakes financially that you can benefit from all the things that I've done wrong. So, but that's only a part of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about some social issues. And then once I get through with the whole crazy social issues that I've always had opinions about and wanted to get it out there, we're going to go ahead and move into the financial stuff. So sit back, relax, get your pen and papers or whatever available, and we're going to talk about some really cool stuff. Peace. Hello, I'm back again. I hope you're back from taking your break. And we're going to go ahead and get into the program. We're going to talk about some really cool stuff. I'm hoping that at some point I'll be able to make this video available on the website, on my website, or the Houston Media Sources website, if they'll let me put it on there. So we'll see. The slides, it's about 80 slides. And so, let me see. Yeah, it's about 80, I would say 84, 85 slides. So I really want to get into the information and just keep it moving, you know what I'm saying? So once again, oh, by the way, one other tidbit of information I got to share with you. The way this is going to work is this. I tried to design the slides such that you'll be able to just, once, if you're able to download the slides, you'll be able to look at the slides and it'll have pretty much everything that I'm going to say, excluding some anecdotes, yada, yada, yada. And that way, you'll have the full slides. So it's not like a traditional presentation. So as I'm talking, I'm going to read the whole slide to you, and it's going to be more so in a narrative type form, where most of the time you're not really, well, at least I'm hoping that you're not really going to see me. You should see the slide on the video. And that way, if you don't get a chance to download the video, you can look at the slide and you can jot down what things that are most important to you. So I hope that gives some clarification. So once again, welcome to the World According to Mark, and everything under the sun, discussion of spirituality, accountability, and financial energy. First of all, the purpose of this program is to share with you the way that I see life in hopes that it helps you to accomplish your goals, whatever they may be. Each video is designed to be viewed individually such that you can watch only that video which is of most interest to you. And so, table of contents. Oh, and by the way, I'm an artist, so that should make sense to you once you see the table of contents. Spirituality, accountability, financial energy, and Mark reads some poetry and sings some songs. I like demoing a lot of stuff, so I'm hoping that you'll enjoy that part because, like I said, I'm an artist, so meaning rapper, poetry, yada, yada, yada. The point in that story, and I'm going to take an aside, is this. We're going to cover these topics, but the goal is I want to get through these topics so I could talk about art, pick out some artists, whether it's Tupac or Juvenile or any artist that's out there today, and we talk about their work and how does hip-hop impact the community in a positive or negative way, and what things can be done better in order to move and elevate the music to a higher level so it inspires and brings out the best in people and not just a form of entertainment. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with entertainment, despite what all of those crazy people say. So moving on to the next slide. Spirituality. Because I believe that everyone should develop their own personal relationship with God or your supreme being, I will assign you some homework. You can Google or go to Wikipedia to research these terms. So the logic behind that is just like it says, I'm not trying to tell you what God you should believe in. I'm not trying to tell you Jesus, Allah, or any of those people. I believe in God. I believe that there's no one or no thing greater than God. And that was a spiritual journey that I had to take on my own. Mom couldn't tell me who God was. She could only put me in an environment to allow me to learn about God and to grow in God. So that's something that you have to do on your own and take that journey. But in the process of taking your journey of faith, I give these or assign these types of homework so you can learn more about what, in this case, I think it's Christianity, but you can learn more of the history associated with faith and myth. And my logic is that I'm hoping that that'll help elevate you as a person, as a more well-educated person, but also to help you grow in your faith. So let me go ahead and read to you the learning objectives. The viewer will be encouraged to research topics that would help them grow in their faith. The viewer will be asked questions that promote critical thought. The viewer will be asked to research topics that helps to relate history to theory and also to faith. So here's your homework, a spirituality homework slide that should be up now. What is the ancient civilization of Kemet? So I give you a hint. Nile, the Nile River, Egypt. What is the Greek definition of amen? Who is Amen-Ra, or Amen-Ra, depending on how you want to pronounce it? I want you to also research the relationship between Egypt and Jerusalem. Also name 5 components of Egyptology. Also, who is Queen Sheba? And what is her relationship to King Solomon? And so in the process, all of these things, like I said, on Wikipedia, which is a not-for-profit, so I could say that. So I want to make sure that we don't talk about commercial stuff. Okay. Also going on to spirituality homework slide. What is the relationship between Ishmael and Isaac? All right, and who is Jacob? And so a lot of this stuff is really just in a roundabout way talking about the relationship between Islam and Christianity. Who is the king that built the Muslim mosque in Jerusalem? What was the Temple Mount, or what is the Temple Mount, whichever way you want to word it? Here's a tricky one, which is really a tough one because historians are actually debating this one. What were the years that the Jewish people were actually in Egypt? Because we always hear the story of Moses and him leading the people out of Egypt. I want you to research what were those years. Continuing on for spirituality homework. What are chakras? Or some say chakras, yada, tomato, tomato. You know what I'm getting at. You see the word. What are the most popular forms of yoga? What is the difference between yoga and Pilates? What are the Abrahamic religions? Which is cool because this is something I didn't know. I give you some really cool things on this, the Baha and Rastafarian. So you look up the rest, I think you'll find it's some interesting information. What is the relationship between Sarah of France and Mary Magdalene, or Mary Magdala, which is supposedly, or not supposedly, which is considered Mary Magdalene the closest relationship between a woman to Christ? Some say that she was married to Christ. Some say she wasn't. Some say she was a prostitute, which is, I ain't going to get into the history because I want you to research it. Let me see. Let me continue on. Oh, okay. Who did Noah actually curse? And I want you to research that. You know, this is when we get into the whole thing of did he actually curse Ham, or who did he actually curse? Moving on to the next slide. Who did Moses marry, and what is a Cush or a Cushite? How does the Bible's genealogy compare to the Egyptian genealogy? In this case, we're talking about the history of kings, queens, and in that line. I want you to research that. Is spiritual identity important? And this is when you get into the whole concept of, does it really matter if Jesus was black? Does it matter if he was white? Does it matter if he was green? Does it really matter? And that's something I want you to research. Well, it really is, that one is just for you to discuss among your groups, your friends, your family, whatever. Because I'm going to tell you from my perspective, spiritual identity is important. And so I'm going to let you work on that one. And usually I don't like to spark dialogue, even though everything I'm going to say is probably going to spark dialogue. I really like to focus on action and what things move people forward. Because people have been talking for a bazillion years. Talk is cheap. That's why I have something to say. That's why a whole bunch of other people have something to say. But I'm hoping that these are thoughts and comments about things that help move people forward and grow in their faith. So, if the image of Christ is not really important, is it time to destroy idolatry? E.g., any images that refer to Christ. Why or why not? I want you to research, or this is one that you can actually have a discussion on. And the logic behind that is, if you look at all of the religious, well, I ain't going to say all, but the majority of the religious cartoons, or if you go to a majority of religious stores, they always represent Christ or Jesus as a white cat. Now, just to take another aside, if you look back at history and the golden calf and God saying, hey, have no other man before me, have no other God, well, not no other man, no other God before me. And that was technically or supposedly one of the things that the Jewish people got in trouble for. And so my question to you is, in today's technology where each culture, and meaning whether Jesus represented as a white cat or not is irrelevant, it's more so does at what point does representing God in your image, does it become idolatry? That's the real concept that I want you to research or discuss with your friends. So on that note, that concludes the spirituality component. So I'll talk to you in a few, or really in about 2 seconds. Peace. Hello, everyone. I'm back. And we're going to move on with the learning objectives. Like I said, the reason why I keep pausing between each film is because each one is set up where you can watch it individually or collectively as one long program. And so the learning objectives for the new section, the viewers should have I'm sorry. Let me backtrack just for a second. This is what you should have learned in the previous lecture. The viewers should have received research topics that will help them grow in their faith. The viewers should have been asked questions that promote critical thought. The viewers should have been asked to research topics that helps to relate history to theory and also to faith. So I'm hoping that that's what you received in the prior lecture, because those were the objectives. Moving on to the table of contents, with spirituality, accountability, financial energy. Mark reads some poetry, and I'll sing some songs for you. So I know it's funny, I'm talking about myself in the third person. I personally thought it was hilarious. And so I hope you find this as fun, as some fun stuff, because this is the stuff that I enjoy doing. So we talked about spirituality, so let's talk about accountability. Accountability, we're going to talk about the definition of accountability, or at least one definition of it. Strategy, always a good thing. I like strategy. Strategy is cool. Politics and the politics of war. Really, I'm just going to editorialize. I'm just going to say some stuff I've always wanted to say. Black History Month. We just wrapping up February, so I thought it was some really interesting things going about. People were saying maybe we should end Black History Month, and I thought I should go ahead and chime in on it. Usually I don't like to get into popular stuff, but I want to get in on this one. The Black Church. And really, I said Black Church only because a person sent out a negative email recently, and I was trying to respond to that email in a positive way. And so this is one of the things, really it's associated with that email, but it really would apply to any church. So sit back and relax, and actually, let me go ahead and move on. Learning objectives. The viewer will be introduced to a definition of accountability. The viewer will be taught a methodology to assist with goal setting. So first, we're going to talk about the definition of accountability, because that's a quick one. And then we're going to talk about the methodology of goal setting. So as you can tell, it's actually a lot of information that's being covered, but I'm trying to move through it as quickly as possible. Accountability, or accountability definition. The principle that individuals, organizations, and the community are responsible for their actions and may be required to explain them to others. So what that means is, in this case, everything that I'm saying here tonight, I'm actually being held accountable to you for the words that or the thoughts that I'm putting out there in the universe. And I ain't got a problem with that. I can stand behind everything that I say, because I'm hoping that it's a positive message is what I'm trying to get at. So that's the whole concept of accountability, and really that's the topic that we're going to be working with in this section. But we're going to take a slight dip over to the methodology of goal setting, and then we're going to actually come back to accountability, because those two actually work hand in hand. So on that note, sit back and relax, and I'll talk to you in a second. Peace. Hello, everyone. I'm back, and I just paused for a second. I don't know why I paused. Well, who cares? Who cares? So I'm hoping you're still able to hear me, and we're going to talk about goal setting and the methodology that I use. Ever since we've been kids, we've been taught Oh, write down your goals, short-term goals, medium-term goals, long-term goals. But in certain aspects, I'm not really sure if people actually were given the full picture of how do you take that next step to realize your goals. And so I'm trying to share with you the way I do my thing, and then you can decide if this is something that'll help you. If it does, great, that'll help move you to the next level. This format or methodology, as far as I'm concerned, has been used by the world, and I just call it mine because I'm sharing with you the way I do mine. So, and check it out though. This will apply. Oh, give me 1 second because the air conditioner just came on and I want to make sure that's turned off. Peace. Hello, I'm back. I apologize for that. And actually, it's still on. Give me 1 second. All right, hello everyone, I'm back. And actually, I apologize for that. The air conditioner came on, and I'm pretty sure you realize by now I'm actually filming at home. So, but the point of the story is that I'm actually going to leave this in because I think it's hilarious. So anyway, I'm getting off topic. I only got so much time, and so I got to get back to the thing. All right, Mark Nash goal setting methodology. I'm gonna go ahead and put up the slide. Vision, or mission, or dream, whichever that may be for you. From that, you have your goals, plan, execute, and monitor. These are the items that we're going to be talking about over the next however many minutes. So let's go ahead and move over to vision. I'll read that to you. Vision. This is how you see yourself or your company in the future. This is your dream, whether it is to be the greatest rapper on the planet or the leading provider of radiation therapy services in the country. This is your mission, whether it is to advance the kingdom of God or to get a college education. All right, so that's the whole concept of vision. It's just like it sounds. How do you see yourself in the future? Me, this is my vision. I visualize myself doing video presentations, talking about topics that I believe that could help the world. Also, let me share something else with you. I also had a vision of, as a rapper or hip hop artist, whatever you want to call it, or a poet or artist in general, I never really saw myself, getting on a tour bus, going all over the planet and singing in that respect. So I had to strike a balance between how do I accomplish my vision of my art as in the world hearing me sing, and pretty much how do I do that? And what I came up with, the beauty of technology, I have my own internet radio station. And don't ask me why, but I'm hot in Poland and I kick butt in Germany. I ain't made no money, but that ain't the point. The point is I wanted the world to hear my art, and I had a vision, and I worked on the vision, and from the vision I developed these other parts of the methodology that we're about to discuss. And from there, the world can hear me sing. So, and also the cool part is you're on public access, so I'm gonna sing for y'all later. That's what I'm talking about. All right, anyway, let me go ahead and put up the next slide. Goals. From your vision, you develop your goals, and your goals should be achievable and believable, and just as important, attainable and measurable. You should split them between short-term and long-term goals. An example of a goal would be complete your CD with 10 songs and CD cover by December 31st, 2007. So, dealing with the goals short-term and long-term, the point of that, sorry about, I got something in my eye. Short-term, definition of short-term in this particular case is 1 year. What can you get done in a year? Like for me, complete the second CD with 10 songs and CD cover by December 31st, 2007. I mean, as you could tell, that's something that's doable, meaning that it's attainable and achievable. It's something I believe that can be done because with my first CD, I had a timetable, and I've have a history of succeeding in that respect. It's a short-term goal in this case, meaning the CD is done by December 31st, 2007. I mean, it was within 1 year. What else? Achievable, believable, attainable. And as you can tell, it has a deadline associated with it, so it's measurable. So that's what I have to say about that. And so that's your video on goals. And vision and goals. I did both of those together. Peace. Hello, I'm back. In the previous lecture, you heard me talk about vision and goals. Now we're going to talk about a plan, or in this case, an action plan. So let me read that slide to you. From your goals, you should develop your action plan. This is where you assess your financial and human resources. For businesses, this is where you determine your marketing strategy. For individuals, this could be your career plan. A plan should be rigid enough to keep you focused, but flexible enough for you to change your mind. So let's continue with the complete the CD and 10 songs and everything in 1 year. Assessing the financial resources. How much money you got? Just like it sounds. How do you plan to get this CD done? Do you have your own studio? If you have your own studio, you can do your own instrumentals, you can lay your own vocals, you can do your own mix down, you can do your own mastering, so on and so forth. Or if you don't have your own studio, how much money do you have to go and purchase a beat from somebody else? How much money do you have for studio time? Even when you're looking at studio time, this is when we start talking about the whole budgeting process. How many hours do you need to budget for the studio? I mean, we're talking 10 songs, average, let's say 4 hours per song. We're looking at 40 hours. So 40 hours times, let's say $20, looking at $800. Do you have $800? I hope that math is right. Anyway, do you have the money in order to go into the studio and get your work done is the question. And remember, we're talking about that's just paying for the instrumentals. That's just paying for laying the vocals, meaning the studio time. Some places don't include mixing and, not so much mixing, but don't include mastering as part of your studio session. Do you have the money for that? So that's when you have to go out to another place, or the studio that you're working out of sends your work off to someone else and they mix and master it for you. Then the next step is what? You got to mass produce it. How many CDs do you have enough money to mass produce? So that's part of the whole action plan. That's when you're assessing the financial resources component of it. Well, let's look at the human resources side of it. Who do you know? You know anyone at the box? Do you know anyone at any of the 96.1 or 95.7 the Jazz? Do you know anybody at any radio station that's going to play your music? That's talking about networking. And we'll actually talk about networking later because we're talking about who you know. And all of this is a part of your action plan. Now, most people tell you, oh, man, you need this 12-page book or a 200-page book on your business plan. I don't necessarily believe that. I think you just need to make sure you think about the key components of what you're trying to do. What is your vision? I want to be the greatest rapper alive. What is your goal? In order to be the greatest rapper alive, I need a product. So let me put out a CD by the end of the year. What is your action plan? Go to the studio, get my CD done, press it up, start doing shows and doing tours so I can build a fan base, so I can sell my product. So that's the whole concept around a plan or action plan in this case. And thank you for continuing to tune in. Hang out a little bit, sit back, relax, and we'll talk some more. Peace. Hello, I'm back. And in the previous slides, we talked about vision, we talked about goals, and we talked about a plan or action plan. In the next 2 slides, we're going to talk about execute and monitor. Execute, I'm going to go ahead and put the slide up. Just like it says, get to work. You already banged out your plan. You know what your human resources are. You know what your financial resources are. If you're a business, you know what your marketing strategy are. Even if you're self-employed, you still need a marketing strategy, just to let you know. And just like it says, a plan can be very pretty and well put together, but means absolutely nothing if you do not implement it. I mean, there's many businesses that have these big, beautiful plans, and it looks pretty, and that's about as far as it goes. So I don't want you to fall into that group. You need to execute. Let me go ahead and put up the next slide. Monitor. Here's the next step that most people miss. You need to monitor your implementation to make sure that it is in accordance with the plan, which is in accordance with your goals, which is in accordance with your vision or your dream. And the easiest way to do this is just create an Excel spreadsheet with your goals and measure your success at the deadlines. Okay, so that's just the way it sounds. And the reason why I'm telling you that is this. You can have a vision. Well, hey, vision, my mission is to advance the kingdom of God. Beautiful thing. You're on point, you're moving, you know, you developed your goals. Hey, we want to feed the homeless this year. We want to try to feed 2,000 people. All right? You got your vision, you got your goals, and what's the plan? All right, well, cool. We're going to have all of these different grocery stores donate food. We're going to have the choir members go ahead and cook all the food. And then after we cooked all the food, we're going to set up a day and a marketing strategy to let the world know that we're about to prepare this food and feed the homeless and save the world. Monitor. Where's the monitoring and all of that? Well, here's the key. At the end of the day, and once you've given out all of those tickets and said, hey, you know, we gave out, 3,000 food tickets. We had enough food to feed 3,000, so we gave out 3,000 food tickets. Then you can look back and say, hey, you know what? Number one, we started running out of food, so we need to make sure we have more than enough food next time. Number two, we needed more people to help, more volunteers to help out that day. And so the monitoring process is very important because it lets you know, did you accomplish your goals? And not only did you accomplish your goals, can you be more effective and more efficient at accomplishing your goals? So I hope that helps. Sit back, relax, and I'm going to talk to you about strategy tips in the next slide. Peace. Hello, everyone. Let's talk about strategy tips. I'm going to go ahead and put up the slide. Step 1, write down your goals. Step 2, post them all over your house in key places such as the refrigerator, near your television, your bedroom, and in your bathroom right next to where you brush your teeth. Step 3, set up your goals in categories. For me, my categories are spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, financial, and projects or things to do. You only need 1 or 2 goals in each category such that you don't overwhelm yourself. The next thing is New Year's resolutions is a great time to reflect on past year's successes and prepare for a new year, pushing towards your dreams. Now, me, people come to my house and they're like, wow, what's that on your wall? Well, those are my goals. We'll talk about affirmations another time. And just to give you a small idea about that. When we're talking about affirmations, well, I said I wouldn't talk about that. But check this out. Here's something that I try to do, which is that learn and accept my past, live in the present, and continue to prepare for my future. So right now as we speak, even though subconsciously my mind is processing everything that's going on for the next day, everything that's going on next week, everything that's going on 2 months from now. Right now at this moment, the only thing that really matters to me is what you and I are talking about right now. That's it. Nothing else in the world matters. So I want you to think about that because it's all about being in the moment. So if you like basketball and Zen and Phil Jackson, that's not that I got it from him, but that's a good example of what it means to be in the moment. But also talking about if you're playing sports, they call it the zone. And sometimes being in the zone says that you're in the moment and your energy is meshing with the spiritual universe and you are as one. Gets no better than that. So right now, you and I, we are as one. So anyway, I want you to sit back, relax, and think about that. But while you're thinking about that, I want to go over the learning objectives that you should have learned in the previous slides. The first thing is the viewer should have been introduced to a definition of accountability. So I hope you got that. The viewer should have been taught a methodology to assist with goal setting. That's your vision, that's your goals, and from your goals you develop your plan. From your plan you execute, from execute you monitor. The viewer should have been introduced to action plans to assist with holding our government and religious organizations accountable for their actions. Actually, I'm going to delete that one from this slide because that's actually has more to do with the next things that we're going to talk about. So sit back, relax, and I'll be back to talk to you in a second. Peace. Hello, everyone. We're back. Well, I'm back, whichever's the case. I hope you had a chance to digest the information from the previous slides. I'm going to go ahead and put up the next slide. Accountability. Under this topic or section, we're going to talk about the definition, which we've already done, of accountability. We will discuss strategy. That's what we talked about with vision and goal setting. Now we're going to talk about politics and the politics of war, Black History Month, and the Black Church. And so I'm going to try to break up those sections as we go on. So here are your learning objectives, or objective in this case. The viewer will be introduced to action plans to assist with holding our government and religious organizations accountable for their actions. So now you see why the whole discussion on accountability was a very important thing. Matter of fact, let me review that definition with you again so you'll be remember and see how that relates. The principle that individuals, organizations, and the community are responsible for their actions and may be required to explain them to others. I mean, that's the whole concept of church and government. And I mean, we're accountable to God in the end, but that's another story. All right, first let's talk about the politics and the politics of war. I'm going to put that slide up right now. Politics. Here's the problem. Modern day slavery needs to be abolished. Background. 13th Amendment abolishes slavery, excluding criminal punishment. Okay, I'm going to actually go ahead and move over to the next slide because I want you to get the background information first. And actually for these, it looks like I'm just going to read all of these and you'll see where we're going here. Background, free versus unfree labor. Let me just bring this up to my face. Labor is defined as work of economic or financial value. Unfree labor, or labor not willingly given, is obtained in a number of ways: causing or threatening to cause serious harm to any person, physically restraining or threatening to physically restrain another person, abusing or threatening to abuse the law or legal process, knowingly destroying, concealing, removing, confiscating, or possessing any actual or purported passport or other immigration document, or any other actual or purported government identification document of another person. Blackmail, causing or threatening to cause financial harm, using financial control over, to any other person or to any person. The above information slide source is Wikipedia. Let's go ahead and continue on, and I'm going to put up the next slide. Labor or service obtained by, meaning these are the issues addressed in the 13th Amendment, by threats of serious harm or physical restraint, by means of any scheme, plan, or pattern intended to cause a person to believe they would suffer serious harm or physical restraint if they did not perform such labor or services, by means of the abuse or threatened abuse of law or the legal process. And the source of this slide is Wikipedia. I mean, it's been adapted for this presentation, but no information has been changed. Now, let me give you some more background. Let me throw up another slide. Oh, excuse me. Although we all know that our government is sometimes not as efficient, meaning that we outsource prison operations to the private sector. The private sector is driven by profit. The more slaves, the greater the profit. And this is really more of a question. I wrote it as a statement, but it's really more of a question. Could this be the reasoning for racial profiling? That's something that we have to ask ourselves. Meaning that if you know, so much of the United States history is rooted in the slave trade. I'm African American, so yada, 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 meaning that's how I got to the United States. And so because of that, a person, especially with felony conviction, loses essentially all of their citizenship rights and able to be enslaved, because the 13th Amendment specifically excludes criminal activity. So I want you to think about that. Also, could this be the reasoning behind why corporal punishment was taken out of the schools so the police can discipline our children? So which means that if you have a child who's not very well disciplined, then they got to bring in the police, because you have to have order, you have to have discipline, you have to have security for your teachers. And so, you know, and let me give one other component that goes with this in a second. And also, could this be why prison construction is based on third grader test scores? Meaning that they decide how many prisons they're going to build based on how well the third graders do. I think that's an interesting thought. But here's the logic behind it. Everybody knows that if you have an uneducated public, or if the masses are uneducated, they're more likely, or have the tendency more, to lash out, more likely to not have the skills to grow in this society. And we live in a very competitive society. So even with education, it's been tough for me. So even without education, can you imagine how tough it is to survive? And I do use the word survive. Can you imagine how tough it is to survive in this society? So that's how you lead to the possibility of more drug addiction and drug use, as well as drug sales. And then behind that, hey, people got to go to jail for these felony crimes or misdemeanors, whichever's the case, depending on what the actual charge is. And hey, free labor. People are enslaved all over again. So I just want you to think about that more than anything. Here's the recommended action plan that I came up with. The political leaders need to approve a new amendment that grants all the rights of citizenship to prisoners, and delete that language in the 13th Amendment that approves of slavery, essentially. Let me go ahead and put this slide up. Corporal punishment needs to be reinstated into the school system. It's impossible to teach a child that is disruptive. It's either have the teacher discipline the child or the police. Those are really your only two options. And that's when you get into the whole thing about truancy and so on and so forth. And despite what people think, kids they have their level of intelligence. And one of the biggest things is, hey, you can't hit me. If you can't hit me, I'm going to do whatever I want. By the way, I have a lot of family and friends who are teachers. And so if they can't discipline the child becomes disruptive, and it makes it harder to teach the rest of the children. You kick them out of class, hey, principal sends them back. Principal sends them back, the child is still a pain in the butt. So that's my way of saying that supposedly one of the thoughts behind removing corporal punishment was being aggressive towards a child makes that child aggressive. That's one theory. The other thing is, if you, that disciplining the children was being administered improperly, or what's the words I'm looking for? It wasn't administered equally. Some children got more punishment than others. But I think it'll be a good time now, at least, to look back at the records to see, are we better off with or without corporal punishment? I say reinstall it, but I don't have kids. But that doesn't mean I can't comment on it. So I want you guys to think about it. I'm still a taxpayer, and I still believe in a safe and well-educated society. So y'all shut up if you say I don't have kids, so I have no comment. Anyway, also, let me put back up the slide. The debt payment to society for any criminal should be 7 years. After 7 years, e.g. time served, Then they are allowed to return to society. Repeat offenders are exiled for 7 years, and when they get back, or if they come back, and if they have another crime, they're exiled for life. And so also reinstate arts as it is therapeutic and develop certain intellectual skills that are not attended to by math, science, and English, meaning all the teachers have recognized this term, spatial reasoning. So I'll let you guys look that term up. Well, the point of the whole exile thing is if you have free labor, you got to try to remove the profit motive in the system. You know, there's an incentive to go out and imprison young black men, just like there was an incentive to go out and get slaves from Africa to bring them to the United States. So we got to try to break that cycle is the only point that I'm getting at. Maybe 7 years is, the victims will say, hey, 7 years is unreasonable. I don't know. This, like I said, there's very few topics where I would say I must spark dialogue. This just happens to be one of them. And so also, just to let you know, it's always been a thin line between what's humane and what's inhumane. To put a person in prison for the rest of their life, meaning sentenced to double life, triple life, and all these other ridiculous terms, to put a person in life for 50 years, 75 years, 25 years, 10 years, 10 years, depending on what the crime is, can you really say that's humane? And the logic usually goes like this. Well, we can't really justify killing this person with the death penalty primarily because we don't know if they actually did it. Or evidence may surface later that says that they didn't do it and they should be set free. All right? The problem is still putting a person in jail for 50 years straight. How humane is that? That's killing them slowly. You were better off to put the bullet in their head and be done with it. So I want you guys to think about that. I know that was an aggressive thought, but I want you to think about that, and I'll be back in a second. Peace. Hello, everyone. I'm back again. Like I said, I hope you all are sitting back, relaxing, got your pen and papers out, taking notes. If not, like I said, I'm hoping that at some point you'll be able to download this video or download the slides and the outline and read for yourself everything that I've had to say. Like I said, these are just my opinions. I've been dying to get this off my chest for a long time, just to let y'all know. But the opportunity has finally arisen, if you will, for me to get these recommendations out there. I'm saying a lot because I'm becoming tired a little bit sooner than I would like, but I'm going to keep it pushing. All right, the next slide, I'm going to go ahead and put it up. The politics of war. Here's the way it works. Poor people have been fighting the wars for the wealthy since the beginning of time. I propose a constitutional amendment that states that all those that vote to declare war must have an immediate family member serve on the front line or combat zone for a period no less than 2 months. Here's the logic. There's an old saying that says, put your money where your mouth is. If you're serious about this war, put someone you love in harm's way, and the poor will battle to the end. Otherwise, us poor folk will be happy to let the wealthy fight their own wars. And that's exactly like it sounds, Hey, everybody is fussing at George Bush about the war in Iraq and was it a good idea, was it a bad idea? I'm not a historian or a governmental person, but the last time I checked, or at least to my understanding, feel free to call in to public access channels, send me an email if you want, and correct me if I'm wrong. But Congress is the only one who can declare war and have the power of the purse. The executive branch can go to war for 90 days without, quote unquote, calling it a war. I think they can call it a conflict. And so the purpose behind that is that if us, meaning us poor people or the masses, if we really disapprove with the war that's going on in Iraq, there's a couple of ways that we can show that. I know it's been a change in the House, and there's still, I don't know if it's finally resolved with the Senate on who gets that other seat because that cat is sick on the Republican side. But for the House and the Senate, supposedly we have a Democratic Congress now. But at the same time, for all of those people who voted for the war, who says, hey, we didn't know the president duped us. Should that be our concern to say, hey, maybe these people don't need to be in office since they obviously don't have our best interests at heart? I don't know. I'm putting that out there because I think that's important. Because as a society, either we grow or we be destroyed, and that's it. And as for us poor people, we got to stop fighting these crazy wealthy people's war. You mess with my daddy and I want your oil, I'm going to let you guys work through that. So sit back, relax. We're going to move on to the next topic, which is Black History Month, and I'll talk to you in a few. Peace. Hello, everyone. I'm back. I am going to talk about Black History Month, so let me go ahead and put up the slide. Black History Month. What is the difference between Black and African? Should Black History Month be abolished since it teaches the same people the same thing each year? Meaning it teaches about the same people, Frederick Douglass, so on and so forth. What about Christmas or Easter? Now, the reason why I put those up there, or those particular questions, is this. What is the difference between Black and African? In the United States, we've had this debate for a long time, and some people settle on certain words. Negro, Negroid, African American, Black, Afro, so on and so forth. Let me just go and break it down to y'all the way I see it. The first question is, did Black people exist before slavery? The answer is obviously yes. Because, we had to go to Africa and bring they went to Africa and brought Black people here. The logic behind that is this. Black is a color with no identity. African, even though we don't know if a person was from Nigeria or Angola, Africa gives a person a sense of connection to a land, a people, a tradition, and culture. All right, that's what the major difference between African and Black. That's the major difference between the two. Now, the only problem is we live in a society that keeps telling Black folks that we only existed since slavery. And as you can see, I just used the term Black, which means that I really ain't got the energy to fight y'all on this one anymore. I'm Black, African, and all those other words that you use. Typically, I prefer African American because it's a more powerful term. It's like I said, associated with history, tradition, and you can hear it in today's society. You can see it in the African American community. Primary example, some people have a problem with the words that end in TH. Both instead of both. Math instead of math. Some people, instead of saying street, they say screet. That's all from Africa. Some people like they bling bling. Look at Africa. Some men like to wear earrings. Once again, look at Africa. So, it's not like the tradition isn't here. So I don't understand why you cats got a problem with saying African American. But I'm going to let y'all make it on that. Should Black History Month be abolished since it teaches the same people each year? Well, for those retarded people, and I'm going to go ahead and be mean on this one. For those who retarded people who even had such a thought, and even for it to make it to the radio station, and me for being retarded to even feel the need to respond to such a stupid thing, I'm going to say this. That means we need to abolish Christmas and we need to abolish Easter. And the logic behind that is simply as this, because people are like, well, Black History Month has become too routine and too commercial. What is Christmas? Every year we talk about what? The birth of Christ. They have a term for that. For Christ, they call it faith. For routine things, they call it tradition. So you saying it's a bad thing to talk about Frederick Douglass every year? I don't know. Or Carter. Meaning, I think I keep saying think, but I always want to say Carter G. Woodson, but I'm going to say Carter Woodson, because I actually used a quote from him in my newsletter recently. It was actually pretty good. I'll tell you about that later. But the point of the story is this. Whether it's Frederick Douglass, Martin Luther King, Medgar Evers, or Marcus Garvey, or Huey P. Newton, or Malcolm X or any of those cats. We should talk about them every year. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. Because if you're saying that we need to abolish Black History Month, then we need to abolish Christmas and we need to abolish Easter. Because they both are rooted in tradition, that there's certain things you do every year. Now, here's the point of the story that I'm getting at, though. Can it be better? When you take a good idea, can you expand that idea and make it into something better? You know, so, excuse me, I'm sorry. All right. Sorry about that. I shouldn't have did that on tape, but I thought that was funny, just to let you know I belched. Anyway, the point of the story is this. Ooh. Give me 1 second. Oh, sorry about that. It's just saying I got 5 minutes in order to finish up this thought. The way it works is this. Those things are necessary. If they weren't necessary, we wouldn't have them. So when we're looking at Black History Month, and actually hold that thought. I'm going to talk about this at the beginning of the next tape. And so, peace. All right, change of plans. Change of plans. I'm gonna go ahead and finish this thought, and because then I want to go ahead and keep it moving. Can it be done? Meaning Black History Month. Can it be done better? The answer is yes. Can we move away from the traditional of doing everything from scratch and starting to leverage technology? Can we start using PowerPoint presentations in order to teach the church about different Black history figures? You know, Nkrumah, Idi Amin. You know, those are important cats. You know, I think I mentioned Medgar Evers already. Can we talk about local and national people who are doing great things? Dr. Ben Chavis. Dr. Sullivan passed away, but Reverend Dr. Sullivan, the Pan-African African-American Conference. Can we take those next steps and start teaching our kids how to use PowerPoint presentations in order to teach the world about African Americans? Now, expanding it from Black History Month to Black History Year, I think is a wonderful idea. Already in my newsletter, I started using quotes in order to talk about different things in Black history. And I'm hoping to take that to the next level. Each month in my newsletter, recommend a certain number of African Americans to be researched and shared with other people. So that's my contribution, I'm hoping, to society and to others to learn about African Americans and how we kick butt in this society and all over the world. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to go ahead and get ready to pop in the next tape. And in the next tape, we're going to talk about the action plan. Peace.